Guys, let me ask you a question, a collective question. Are we pissed off at George Masvidal? Are we there yet? Because I'm not. And I don't think you guys are, but he is acting in a way that would generally piss me off, and I know it would piss you guys off too. Look, here's what's up with George, okay? And George is in a very unique spot. He took on the most unique fighter in the sport, which is Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is the only guy out there who never bluffs, who does whatever he wants, and whatever he wants ends up being awesome. He's the only guy out there that isn't a champion that can sell out MSG and proved it. He is a one-off. The fight he did before that against Pettis, I was there, and yes, it was close to his hometown. That thing was beyond sold out. When you go to a live arena, just for example, they hang screens. There's screens all over the building, just so wherever you happen to be sitting, boom, there's movie screens. Not a bad seat in the house. That's why they do it. They had to move 2 screens, isolate them from the building just to open those seats up because there was such a demand. They ended up moving one of those screens and opened seats up 3 hours before door time. Nobody even knew that happened. They still sold them out. Just the people that came up, walked up, please, please, please let me in. They ended up having seats for me. I mean, beyond sold out. And this place went insane when he came out. He got Nate Diaz got a standing ovation at the weigh-in. I never seen anything like it. I've seen a lot of things in this sport. I haven't seen that at a weigh-in. So when Masvidal goes out and fights him, I mean, don't forget, within this sport, whatever the other guy brings to the table, if you beat him, you take it all. You can take on it. We just saw this with Anthony Joshua versus Ruiz. I'd tell you Ruiz's first name, but I don't know it. I don't mean that to be a jerk, but Ruiz wasn't the guy. He wasn't what anybody collectively consensus had called the number 1 contender. Max Kellerman went as far as to say he didn't belong in there. He had a number of losses. He didn't look the part. He hadn't taken on the top guys. Pretty good record, but a lot of them were against journeymen, not even main event guys. He gets brought in to do the JOB against Joshua, ends up knocking Joshua down 4 times, eventually out, leaves there the champion of the world. But the point being that none of that's against Ruiz. That's exactly what dreams are made of. Ruiz stepped up. Ruiz deserved it on courage alone, on self-belief and hard work alone to step up there, let alone to do the job. But my point is the same. Everything Joshua brings, he loses to Ruiz. That's just the way this game is played. You are all in, all chips on the table at all times. So when you're George Masvidal and you're taking on Nate Diaz, who can do anything, doesn't have to be a champion, can main event and sell out the Mecca, you get to go home with that too. You get to go home with that too. So George gets put in this very unique spot of, it doesn't matter what I do next. It's going to be a big deal. And guess what, guys? George isn't wrong. That is just George merely understanding what that night meant. In addition, he becomes a champion, which we're told is never going to be defended again. I hope that one gets ran back. But let's just say that's true. If you win a championship that you can never lose, I mean, come on. All chips were in and George walked off with them. Good for George. You got to tip your hat. George followed the rules, but he's also now following the game just a little bit. And the reason I say that is normally if a guy is offered a championship fight and he turns it down, that's going to piss me off. Just not the way this is played. But George has to be smart. He does. George isn't saying, to my understanding, I won't fight. As a matter of fact, he's saying I'd rather fight sooner than later. To my understanding, he is in training every single day and he is on weight. George is waiting on an opponent. And at 170 pounds right now, I will just offer for you, there appears to be a whole lot of really good options. And while we would like to see champion versus champion, yes, it reminds us of Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior. I get it. BMF versus Undisputed. I get it. But George, before anybody starts to get off put by this, does have a reason to play the cards that he has, and he's the only one with these cards. He's in a unique spot. And you know what? When I say he's the only one in all fairness, Nate Diaz still has it. George has got it now, and Connor's had it for a while. But those 3 guys can sell out events with no championship on the line. It's just one of these spots where give them a little bit of room. And I also don't know that 170 has to have Masvidal versus Usman. I've never been a buyer on that. I want that fight. I like that fight. I'm a believer in that. I'm not a believer that that fight has to happen. Colby Covington gave Kamaru his hardest fight ever. That's according to Kamaru. Burns has earned that fight. That's according to everybody. Leon Edwards deserves to get in there one more time with Usman, and that's according to both Leon, Usman, and all of you. Nobody's arguing. Usman's saying somebody else figure out and just tell me when. Okay, great. When you have a champion with that attitude, then let's help him. Let's get him a match. You have a champion with that kind of attitude. That's a refreshing attitude. You have that. Let's take care of him first. That guy, everybody's at the table. Boom. Bring him a plate first. But let's start working backwards. So where does Masvidal go, particularly when Masvidal's in train on weight and says he's ready? Am I missing something? That happens too, in all fairness. Is Masvidal secretly being difficult is there something there that's going on? I will tell you, though, it's very hard to keep a secret in this sport. I haven't heard that. All I'm hearing is that George is ready to fight. Kamaru's ready to fight. Leon would like to get out of the country. Colby's in a great training situation. Burns is ready to go. I mean, it looks to me, an outsider, staring at this from 10,000 square feet, it looks like, man, we got a lot of great players here. Let's start matching them up.